H. Lavoie. I write primarily young adult, like coming of age stories. Most of them have an element of romance because like, why not? My first book, Confidence, the Diary of an Invisible Girl, I think is available at the Trinity Prep library. And my second book, A Girl Called Monster, is a Frankenstein book.
Cool.
And that's going to be coming out with Parliament Press in 2023. So next year.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Very cool. Excited for you.
Yes.
Great.
So how about you, Vivi? Why don't you take us next?
Okay, I'm Vivi Barnes. I am the young adult author of Olivia Twisted, which came out a while back. Not a decade ago, though, so yay. And it's a contemporary retelling of Oliver Twist, except they're hackers instead of pickpockets. And I'm also the author of the follow-up sequel, Olivia Decoded, and the funny contemporary novel, Paper or Plastic, set in a grocery store, kind of like Walmart, but you know, it's fun. There's romance, of course. Romance is in all of my books because I love it. Kissing.
That's awesome. I'll go next then. My name is Christina Farley, and I'm the author of the Gilded series. It's a trilogy, and there's romance in this trilogy. And I also have written a middle grade, The Princess and the Page. There's not a romance in this story. Well, there's a little bit of a romance, a cute, sweet romance. It's more for middle grade, but it was a fun book to write as well.
That's good. And then you also have something out. Well, yeah, the Princess.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's something else, right?
Yeah, I also have the dream. Thank you, Amy. Amy knows more about what I'm writing than I do. This is awesome. I need Amy with me everywhere I go. It'd be awesome. I also have a new story. It's a serial called The Dream Heist. It's on Kindle Vella, and you can read the story in episodes. It is a lot of fun. There is also a romance in that series, and I'm working on season 2 of that novella.
Yeah. So
very
exciting.
cool. It's very good. So I'm so excited to hear about all of your books. And my name is Amy Christine Parker, and I'm the author of Gated, Astray, and Smash and Grab. All 3 of those were thrillers for young adults. And I will have a new release out this fall called Flight 171, which is my very first horror novel. And all of my novels have a little bit of romance, but I would say it's very slight, and I can't guarantee that both parties in that romance will make it out alive.
Oh, wow. Now that is a statement.
That's very you. You scared.
I love that.
Okay, so I guess what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of talk informally a little bit about romance and what your experience is writing it. So does everybody want to talk about what they find most difficult about writing romance? What is the hardest thing for you to do?
An answer.
Yes, go for it.
The conflict. I just want them to be happy.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really good at the meet cute, like them finding each other and that initial spark. And then I'm like, and then they fall in love and it's great. And that's
you just have to stay happy.
Yeah. So that's always a struggle for me. I feel like there's always, when I'm trying to write romance, some sort of revision where I'm like, all right, let's add some drama to the middle, because they're just like holding hands and drinking coffee and
it's a montage of like nice moments, right, with like desserts.
Yeah.
And, yep, exactly. I can see that.
I think for me, it's more the after the kiss. Like, I love a slow buildup. I love that slow burn, and like halfway through the book, they finally kiss, and then it's like, okay, what now? Like, you know, I love the tension of the 2 together. It's like romantic tension, so exciting, and will they, won't they, and then they do, and it's like, okay, so what's next? So I feel like that's kind of where I struggle a little bit. And you know, you have to make it exciting all the way through, and after that there's always something, you know, exciting. But you know, when you hit that point, you're just like, okay, well, we did that, now what?
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off on what you were saying, Vivi, I struggle because I have a lot of my books are series. So the Gilded series has 3 books, and there's 1 romance throughout the full trilogy. And so it was really tricky because they meet, I kind of a spoiler, but they meet and they get together and they fall in love in the book 1. And then I have book 2. and we still need to have like that conflict, right? And even into book 3. So that was really hard to think of a bigger arc for the relationship. Like, where could the relationship go? What levels will it grow out of from each book? And I'm even dealing with a little bit of that with the Dream Heist as well, because I'm on season 2 on that. So I'm like, okay, so how can I keep this romance sizzling, even though they've already met and they've, kissed and they fall in love and everything's great, but you can't make it always great. So yeah, same type of thing.
Yeah, I can see
What about
that
you,
totally.
Amy?
Oh, all of it. I think the difference here is that I find all of it really difficult. But I think the worst for me is trying to write flirty banter. I'm really terrible at flirting, and probably because I'm no good at it in real life. Like, I was always that person who's like, direct, do you like me? I like you, let's go out. Like, we don't need to play the games. And so I'm really horrible at the games. And what ends up happening is I have to really struggle. And the first go around, my guys sound a little creepy and I have to pull back. And it takes me a while to get that banter right. So I always feel like I'm holding Barbie dolls trying to figure out what they're saying to each other. And it's very awkward for a long time before I get it to be, where it sings.
But you do a good job.
Oh, well, thank you. So I think
When
for
you get
all
to the
three of
end,
you
Don't
do.
downplay it.
you
do
pull it
great.
off.
And Paige is over there looking like a romantic heroine with the hat and the lipstick. You have the whole
manic
vibe.
pixie mean. I almost said manic pixie mean girl. No, manic pixie mean girl moment.
That could be interesting, though.
Yeah,
I
there
like
we
that
go.
title, right?
That's
That's a
yeah.
book
You put
you
the
could
2
write.
character arcs together, and who knows?
Yes.
Your next villain.
What do you think when you're writing romance? What is the thing that you love the most about it? So now we talked about what was difficult. What's the thing that's the easiest, that flows, that you just get lost in, so that you don't even realize you're writing, you're just typing away, and it just flows out easily
The
in the
flirty
romance?
banter.
Okay, so I need to hire you.
Wait, I love the flirty. That's my favorite part, is when they're like, at each other, bantering and stuff, and it's just fun. It's very, very sweet to do that.
That's good.
I feel like oh, go ahead.
I think I'm the same way as Vivi, but it has to be I have to make sure my relationships with the 2 people are right. And if they're not the right characters and they're not set up in my mind, I can't get that banter. But if I have the right characters and they have that right chemistry in my head, I don't know, then it becomes so much fun. And I actually used to be terrified of the banter, but lately I'm having so much fun with it. I'm actually writing a rom-com right now, and I'm like in love with the flirty banter, like Vivi was saying. So I think the big part for me is making sure I have 2 characters that kind of clash, but also have some similarities and bonding elements. And that really helped me make that connection for them.
I love your flirty banter. It makes me laugh, actually. Like, they have so much fun. You feel like you're part of it. It's really cool.
Yeah, both of you are very good at it. Paige, what about you?
I really like the very soft sentimental moments, like that, they've already had their kiss, they've already kind of established that they're falling in love for each other, but they're really realizing it for the first time, like that, looking at someone and really seeing some element or feeling seen by them. I think those are really fun moments to discover. I also, polar opposite side, love the awkward overthinking in the beginning of the relationships, the oh my god, that I just said that awkward thing and they probably hate me now, and that confidence has a ton of that. I feel like there's no flirting, it's just overthinking the whole time.
The angst, I could see that.
Yeah.
I feel like that was always me in a relationship. Paige was, oh my gosh, you must think I'm an idiot. Oh my gosh, and always.
I feel like that's me currently sometimes. I'm like, hey, do you like me? Husband of 10 years, like me.
Yeah, I can see that, and especially as an author, you have that with your audience. It's not a romance in the same way as a couple, but you're still like, am I cool? Do you like me? Is it, did I say something good? And in a panel, you're like, oh, that was awkward. They're not going to like me now. I totally see that. For me, I think it's I love the tragic romance. That's terrible, I know. But I love like the Titanic thing where he doesn't quite make it and they have to wait a while to be together. Or Last of the Mohicans is a really old movie, but there's this
Oh,
scene that just like they're
yeah,
gonna separate and he's like, "No matter what occurs, I will find you." I
yeah.
love those kind of scenes
Oh,
where the man is like very heroic. Sense and Sensibility when Colonel Brandon like runs off to get help so that he can come back and bring the family to I can't think of the character's name, but the one that's sick that he loves. I forget what her name
Yeah,
is.
the
You
one in
probably know,
Perils.
Chris.
Yeah, and
What is
then
it?
he
I
got
should know this.
I know. All
I
I can
don't.
think is Kate Winslet, who plays this character
yeah,
in the movie. But I'm like I can't think of the
I
name
can't
of the
remember.
person.
yeah. I think Margaret was the
I
real
think
one.
we need to all sit down and watch the movie again then,
I'm
just for
up for
that.
that.
Yes.
That's my,
I know.
my favorite.
The watch party. It's a date. But yeah, I love those big sweeping gestures and like in the face of tragedy. Those are my favorite parts of romance, where it's
So
like
romantic.
extremely dramatic and heightened. So now we've talked about that. When you think about writing romance for young adults, um, what are some lines that you feel like shouldn't be crossed? Are there lines that shouldn't be crossed? What do you think about handling true, like real relationships, but for teens? What are your feelings? It's a loaded question. Take a moment to think.
We all just kind of look of like who's gonna do it first.
No. Mm. I think you just have to be true to the age, true to the characters, like you don't want to put something in there just for the sake of throwing it in there, like because
Mhm.
you as the author want to. Like what is true if you're writing a young adult novel, for example, and there's, an extra romantic kind of scene or sex or anything like that, you have to be true to that age and to those characters and everything else. Don't try to sensationalize it. Don't try to play something down just because you're uncomfortable. It needs to be true to the story and to the characters and the age.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
That is a good answer.
I feel like a lot of times approaching young adult, like as an adult, so we've grown past those phases. Oh, there's like an urge for a lot of authors to be like, well, and there's nothing wrong with like not including drinking and like having like cleaner YA stories. Like I kind of lean towards that side most of the time. But if you are going to include those things, if it works for the story, like you said, Vivi, just like writing it honestly is definitely important, and thinking about like what you were like as a teenager, what the parties you were like going to. And I mean, I was homeschooled, so my parties were literally like there were board games and like it was like karaoke and way too much like Mountain Dew. So it was very tame high school experience. But that, yeah, that might I lean towards cleaner romance too. Anyways, like you said, just being honest about it, I think is really
Honesty.
smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of it comes from the author too. Like
Mhm.
when I write, sometimes I'm like, should I put this in there? Should I put this in there? I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to write the story that I love.
Yeah.
I'm going to write about the characters that mean something to me. And I think if you're writing from the heart and writing from passion of the story of the characters, then everything is going to fall into place. So whatever they need to do, they do, and or they don't do.
Yeah.
So I think the moment I realized I can just be true to myself and true who I am as a writer, then the rest kind of flows from there, which was really freeing for me because then I can just write what I love.
It goes back
Okay.
to honesty,
Mhm.
being honest
Yeah.
with who you are as the author, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, you can't ever take for granted that there's such a wide gamut of kids with such a wide range of experiences. So what I might have experienced as a kid is not the same as somebody else. So every teenager's romance is slightly different because there's kids on all different sort of growth tracks. So you
Right.
need every kind of author. And that's why I think it's important to stay true to your own experience because chances are good, whatever you experience, there's kids out there right now experiencing the same thing, no matter what intensity level that is. So you have an audience built in for each of those categories. I agree.
Mhm.
When you are writing romance, do you do anything special about your writing situation, your writing space? Do you light candles? Do you have a sort of a routine?
Hmm.
No.
Okay, Paige.
No.
Paige, you have to have something cool, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or just
No.
writing in
I
general,
mean,
even if it's not writing for.
a lot of I've been a lot of times if I'm drafting, I have like an old phone and I will just pull up Google Docs and basically draft like anywhere. Like I also like I have Hashimoto's, so I have like a lot of like chronic inflammation and stuff. So not like just writing in particular, I've definitely like drafted whole books, like taking Epsom salt baths and like stuff like that. So that's like just kind of a writing hack. If you have an old phone with a waterproof case,
Yeah.
write anywhere, be comfortable. Yeah, right from bed, whatever. But when it comes to like writing like sentimental or romantic scenes, I feel like a lot of times I just kind of get hit with those ideas, so I just want to write them down really fast. And so it's like wherever you can write or type them out, that's kind of what ends up happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have candles.
Nice.
I have candles. I have my candle, and then I also have like it's on YouTube. You can get those different like falling snow or like, be different romantic locations. So I'll have that going in my other screen because I have two screens, and so I have one of them going. It's like something beautiful, whatever I'm writing about, beach or like listening to the waves. And then I have my candle, and then I shut my door. Because I've got two teen boys. I'm like, no. That's not romantic.
Oh yeah.
Asking me to take them places and do stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got those too. I do listen to music. Music is big for me. So it's hard for me to write without music on. When I edit, I typically turn the music off, or I'll have something without lyrics, but I have everything from 9 Inch Nails to, soundtracks and everything in between. It's just, that kind of helps me set the mood and the scenes in my book to listen to music.
Do you do the thing where you listen to the same song over and over and over?
I do that.
Me too.
I have one song per book that like encapsulates that book perfectly. Like whatever the character's feeling, it's mostly about the lyrics, and it has to sound super angsty, like super angsty. So it used to be Linkin Park was my go-to, but now it's like Grandson is the name of one artist I really like. I think the Phantoms is the one who has the song for my most recent book. But I listen to it like on repeat 100,000 times with like the soundproof headphones.
I have one for you. It's called "What Could Have Been" by Sting. It's from the show Arcane.
I've heard such good things about that show.
My son said it's perfect. But Sting does a song. It is the most beautiful song in that show. It's like amazing. So I highly recommend it for when you're writing or thinking through a book.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to check that one out. So what about your favorite romance tropes? Do you have any, or ones you don't like? Either or.
Well, I'm writing right now an enemies to lovers kind of feel. So for my new one I'm working on. And a little bit of the Gilded series, they're a little bit like they're, Mark and Jay were a little antagonistic at first as well. So it must be something I enjoy to write, because there's a lot of tension in there, and I love that spark. And it also makes the meet cute really fun. So maybe that's my favorite.
That's a good one.
I like the bad boy kind of thing.
Yeah, me too.
I know you do, because Olivia Twist is totally the bad boy. And yes, Paige, I can
bad boy
yours too.
I
like the bad boy who turns out to not be a bad boy is like my favorite, where like cinnamon roll in a leather jacket is.
Yes. Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
That's a great description.
That.
Yes. I love that too.
Good explain.
What are other romance tropes? Oh, I like fake dating. I think
yes,
sometimes it can get
dating.
kind of, but
yeah.
I was talking about that with my husband, where I can't remember if we were watching a movie or something, and he's like, oh, but then they're gonna fall in love we know they're gonna fall in love and they're gonna want a real date. I'm like, that's the point. That's the point of it.
That's like Love Hard that was on Netflix. That was
that was the movie.
That was so good.
It was so cute. I loved how they did "Baby It's Cold Outside" and like redid it with the lyrics. It was so good and made it PC. I thought that version was so great. But I also love the idea of that overlooked guy, the unrequited love. That's that thing with Colonel Brandon in Sense and Sensibility. This guy that just loves somebody completely, and he's right there under your nose, and you don't really see him. But then when you do, because he does something amazing. I love that. I love that a lot. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so in your own books, do you have one favorite romantic scene? something that you loved writing or you think is really fun?
It's always the near miss kiss. Okay, it's not the near miss. I've been saying that a lot lately. But it's more that, you know, they're going to, but something interrupts them. So yeah, kind of like that, you know, like, so yeah, actually, no, my characters really do kiss a lot, but then somebody walks in and it's like, they want to be together, but you know, they can't. I love that.
Yeah, I can see that. And you do it really well. You write the near miss kiss very well.
Yes, you did such a great job of that.
Well, it's funny because my favorite scene is when the foster dad walks in and they are kissing. So I guess it wasn't really near miss, but you know, they had just started kissing, so it was sort of like breaking it off, and that's always exciting.
Yeah, that is. You have
In
anything else?
In the dream heist, there's a scene where my two characters have to pretend they're married. So they get the kind of bad guys off their, won't know who they are, and they're secretly in disguise. So that was really fun, where they had to be doing this, and they're in the Philippines at this really fancy, beautiful resort, and yet they pretend they're married, and they go to the honeymoon suite, and it's super awkward, which makes it super fun. So that was a lot of fun to write.
Nice.
I like this isn't like a trope scenario. It's just so in A Girl Called Monster, there's a really cute scene where the main character and her love interest, they're shopping together. And so they're kind of doing like a really cute fashion montage where they're both like trying on things. And Monty, my main character, she has like Frankenstein scars all over her. So she's really self-conscious about it. And Rhonda, her love interest, is like, you look, you're beautiful. And like they have like a really, really nice moment together.
Aww. I love that. It reminds me of The Duff, that movie. They have like a scene. It's based on a book, but the movie and the scene in the movie is so cute. It's the same kind of thing with the fashion. I'm a sucker for a good fashion montage. Who isn't, right? That's why I rewatch The Devil Wears Prada all the time.
Oh, that's a good one.
Makeover's the best.
Cruella had an amazing fashion montage.
Oh, yes, that movie did. Unbelievable. 100%. I love it.
Does not win an Oscar for best costume. I just don't know what will, because it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. So when you are writing, do you have like a specific schedule you keep, or are you sort of write when you can? I know all of us are moms, so sometimes that really dictates our schedule, but are you sort of like a strict adherer to a schedule, or do you kind of write late at night? What's your routine?
Are we all just kind of right when we can?
No, mine are older though. My kids are older than yours.
I have a sweet little 5-month-old. So it's literally just kind of been sneak in words whenever I can. A lot of writing from my phone in like little 15-minute chunks and stuff. She is getting into just like being able to like do like the independent play on her little play mat and stuff. So I've a couple of times like had my laptop in the same room like near her, but I mean it's still getting those words in, like and it's fun. She's so cool. It's like it's not a season for me with like the big hour-long writing adventures at this moment. Yeah, but
adorable.
Like super cool baby. I don't care.
Yeah. Right. It's a good trade-off.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know y'all are more structured. I'm more like Paige. Like whenever you can, like you have work and kids and all sort of TV. Sometimes like, ooh, Netflix. Ooh, that's a new show that are a little distracting. I admit I do get distracted very easily. So, but when you do it, it feels good. It's like, okay, I accomplished something.
I try to write every morning before work when I first wake up, and then maybe sometimes during my lunch hour, and then at night. So whenever I can, it's kind of like, it's hard, but it makes me happy. So I keep doing it.
Yeah. And for me, it's that like having that routine before you sit down to write. Like I have these mini things I do that sort of sink me in. So, oh yeah, this is writing time. So for one day, like, you're going to pick up kids or somebody's sick, I always start the routine like the same way. And that the music helps with that kind of stuff too. And the candles, I'm sure that's probably why your candles help you. It's like a Pavlovian thing. Your brain's like, oh yeah, it's writing time.
Absolutely. And my coffee.
And the coffee, exactly. Caffeine is important.
Really.
Diet Coke for me.
There was a time I couldn't drink coffee, and it was like, I can't write.
You're at your desk like,
I know.
sleeping.
But even if I wasn't tired, I didn't need the caffeine. It's like a thing. I don't know. It's just like, it's just a trigger. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have to learn to write without my coffee.
So hard. Yeah, caffeine makes a huge difference. True.
Mhm.
All right, this is true confessions time, so get ready.
Oh.
In your romance, have you ever stolen a real life situation from your own romantic life and put it into your books? And if so, give me one example of what. You don't have to tell me if it's with your current love interest or husband, or partner, but was it, something you stole from your romantic history?
Yes, a lot. Many. Okay, so let me just say the one from the Dream Heist that I mentioned about them going to. Okay, my husband and I didn't pretend we were actually married at the time at that resort, but that was a resort that we went to. And while we were there, people kept asking us if we had kids, because it was supposed to be like, if you've been married a long time, they find out we've been married a long time for 7 years. I'm like, well, you must have tons of kids by now. And we're like, no, we don't, no kids. And then finally we're like, we're just tired of answering this question. So we're like, we're newlyweds. We're brand new. We don't, there was no one having to ask us if we had kids and stuff like that. So we were at this resort, we're newlyweds. We got the newlywed suite on the beach. And so there's a lot of that scene that was that same bungalow that we stayed at. I got to put in the book. It was a lot of fun. And then no one bugged us, how many children we had. It was okay.
Rude question. But a fun experience.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, my characters are my husband in a way. Like, he was the bad boy, he was in a fraternity, crazy partier, and I was not. I was a very good girl and stuff. So I kind of model my characters after him in that way. So it's not really one specific instance, unless he's been hacking computers and stealing money and I don't know about it. I mean,
yes.
But, but yeah, I always have him in mind when I'm writing romantic scenes.
Yeah, it's not a book that's out or has any sort. I'm querying it right now, but I have a really cute Hades and Persephone inspired high school romance, and there is one scene in particular. Well, first of all, they're both kind of based on us unintentionally. Like the boy character Hayden, he's like drawing in cemeteries. He's like cute goth boy. I'm like, okay, that's me as a teenager, except for the boy part. And then also like dealing with other stuff and super artsy and a lot of elements like his sweet, sensitive soul that remind me of my husband. But there is one scene in particular where they decide to play checkers at a cabin and the winner gets a kiss. And so that we did that. Early dating.
I love that.
That's super cute. I love that.
That is very cute.
Can I just say I really want this book to come out because, oh my gosh, I love Hades and I want to see Hades Town, actually. That's on my top of my list, but I think that's amazing. So you have to get that published.
Yes.
And then tell
Working
me so
on
I
it.
can buy it.
Yes, 100%. And that's such a cute scene. So that leads me into my next question. Like, what do your significant others or children think of the romance that you write? Do they read it or do they not? Because I know with my kids.
Wait, you didn't answer that question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm calling you.
You better start answering that, Amy. You were trying to sneak out of that.
Wait a minute.
No.
Here's the truth. Like, I write some fairly disturbing thrillers. So my family better hope I'm not taking that from real life, because that would be a sad thing.
I kiss you and then I kill you.
So not really, no. I would say, like, when I'm writing the guy, I probably picture someone similar to my husband. I have a definite type. So I like the angular face, a little bit thinner, tall, like, sort of that type of thing. Slightly artsy, a little bit stylish, that kind of thing. And that's my husband. He kind of has a definite style. And when I was younger and I used to draw pictures, I literally drew pictures that look like my husband, but in cartoon form. It's so weird. Like, when I look back over and over, I would like draw this person. And it is literally like my husband, but just like as a cartoon.
Have you told him that?
No, I don't think I ever did tell him that. I just realized it like last summer. I went to my family's house and my parents had like this big box of mementos that I had from when I was little. And that's when I realized, I'm like, oh my God, these sketches look like my
You
husband now.
got
But I was
it.
probably like 12 when I was drawing them. It's
Wow.
That's so romantic. You have got to tell him. Bring out the
So
candle.
romantic.
I will. After we get off, I will definitely tell him.
Yeah.
And then text us
That's
and let us
cool.
know.
Well, so that brings me back to my question. What do your husbands or partners or children think of the romance that you write? Does it freak them out or do they love it?
So if it was in like board book form, I think I might get good responses from my daughter, you know? Who
Yeah.
knows? Get some like high contrast illustrations in there. Speaking of which, I hate to duck out early, but it is about 20 minutes past bedtime and I'm hearing the tears starting. So I think I might have to say that this has been really fun. I love you guys. Enjoy the rest of the conversation and thanks for having me. I'm really sorry to like duck out.
Give
Thanks
her a
for
big old
coming.
squeezy hug.
I will.
And make sure to check out Paige's book at the festival. A book,
Yes.
plural.
Sure.
See you all later.
Bye,
Thanks
Paige.
for having me.
Bye.
Bye. So maybe
Yeah.
we make this our last question or second to last question then, since we lost Paige, and that'll keep everybody a little even. So ladies, what do your kids or husbands think of your romance?
My husband will, I told him you can only read, like I'll ask him questions about certain things, but he's allowed to read it and say, good job, great job. That's all he can say because he's very, like when the book comes out, he'll tell me things that I should change or something, but never the romance part. It's always, he likes what I do with that. And I'm like, well, it's based on you. So, my kids think it's funny that, oh mom, I've gotten a couple little crack jokes. Elaine hasn't read it yet. My daughter, my boys did, and they were just kind of like, meh. My son told me it didn't suck, and I'm like, oh, thank you. But the romance, I think
That's high praise from a boy, right? It didn't suck.
Yes. But my mom found it funny. She's just like, I can't believe that was you writing all this stuff. Not, just about the whole thing that, that's my daughter writing this. And that's so weird because that's not your voice. I'm like, okay, it's good. I'm not the character. So, yeah.
Yeah, my boys, they haven't really commented on it. They like the books. They read them and they're like, these are good books, mom. And they recommend them to their friends.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say the interesting thing, the one I'm working on is a romance, it's a rom-com. And I didn't think my boys would be interested in reading it, but then I told them the premise about it and they're like, oh, I would definitely read that. And I'm like, really?
Oh.
So that kind of made me happy. Like they thought it was something that would be interesting for them. And then my husband, he likes all my stuff. So he's my number one cheerleader. So he comes up with some fun date ideas for me. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. He's a good brainstormer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good.
How about your family, Amy?
You know what's funny is they're better with the romantic stuff, if there is any, like the kissing. It freaks them out. Like I have two daughters, so they're like, it's weird to think of you writing it, but they're nowhere near as freaked out as when I like murder people in my books. That's what freaks them out. They're like,
I wonder why.
Scary that you thought of that. Like, this is my mom, and I go to sleep in this house, and this woman is thinking of all of these things next door to me with a smile on her face. So
Oh my God.
that's the thing that freaks them out. It's not so much the romance. I think the romance probably is a relief. Like, okay, that's sort of normal. This other stuff is maybe not. So.
I have to say, like, when I read your latest draft, the one that's coming out in September, it freaked me out. Like, because the characters are so real, but the things that they do,
Yes.
I'm not spoiling anything, but some of them freaked Christy and I out.
I was
In a good
definitely
way.
freaked out. Yes.
But see,
And I don't
so-
get scared easily. I don't get scared or freaked out very easily in books. Books I kind of like, but you know what? This book, yes. Very well done.
Oh, well, that makes me happy. But see, I feel that way about your romances. Like that to me is so hard to write, and both of you do such an effortless job with it that, you're my sort of inspirational, muse when I'm trying to write. I think about what you would do because it's not, my natural instinct is not good in that department. So I'm amazed. Like you both do such a nice job with romance.
I think
Well, I
we
think-
use each other. We pick
Yeah.
from each other's brains on different things. Like if I'm going to
100%.
terrorize somebody, I will definitely use you, Amy.
Yes.
Although
If you want to go on fun adventure dates, I'm the girl.
for the audience, they act as if they don't write scary, but both of them have come up with some genuinely creepy things from time to time that I've been like,
Yeah, we might
impressed.
have been guilty for that.
But however, like we've talked a little bit about what we like in romance and the pitfalls. And before we go, like just one parting last question, and then we're gonna sign off. Um, do you have any advice for people who are starting to write romance? Anything you would tell them? Anything that you think is important to keep in mind when you're starting to write stories with that emotional element?
Don't be afraid. Dig down deep into yourself,
Mhm.
and just write what you feel. Like Christina said, write from your heart. Right, just put everything out there, and don't be afraid. There are things where you might be uncomfortable with something that you're putting in there. You might think, oh, this is really awkward. That's okay. It's okay to be awkward. Actually, romance is awkward in the beginning, if we're all honest. So just put it out there. You can always go back and change and stuff, but just be yourself. Have fun with it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think just dig into those emotions and really like live those emotions as you're writing them. And then it becomes more true to the story and the characters. And also like think about your own emotions and how you felt and own situations that you went through and how you would react. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of authors feel it's like a little bit fearful when your books come out, because there's an element of you that is on the page. If it's really good, it's you. And that's like, okay, everybody, here you go. You get to look at me and like analyze all my fears but that's important.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think the emotional vulnerability is key. It really is, like really putting yourself out there. And that's probably why I find it hard. Because, murdering somebody doesn't have that same emotional vulnerability. Grieving does, but not the killing part. But the romance
No.
part is really laying your soul bare to another person. And you're right, Christy, like when you're doing that in the story and then to readers at large, that
Yeah.
can be a very insecure thing. So I guess my advice too would just be to have fun, really relax and have fun. Don't take it too seriously. I think Vivi said something like that too. And it's the idea that, writing should be you playing in a sandbox. You're entertaining people, you're writing a story, and if you're not having fun, they are not going to have fun as well.
True.
So, when you're doing that romantic date, relax and enjoy and try to imagine what it would be like to be there. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to Paige and Vivi and Christy for showing up today and answering all our questions on romance and the pitfalls and the triumphs of writing in that genre. We hope you enjoyed this panel. And while you're at the festival, please check out all of our books. You can find them there. And we look forward to seeing you next year.
We
Bye,
love you all.
everyone.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.